We are Southern Illinois.
Prince into Stafford, has it sideline left. Corbana is near hip with 5. Left arc with 3. Low left block. Shot was blocked. Picard tried to clean up. Prince at the last second with window shopping, and it falls.
It's time for Saluki basketball.
Drew Steffi's got to realize it with 5. Fires a 3 with 2. He's fouled and the bucket goes. Drew Steffi bangs that chest of his maroon jersey top right where it spells Southern in white. And SIU will have a chance to tie the game.
Now, here is the voice of the Salukis, Luke Martin.
New Year's Eve, Saluki Nation, as we're getting ready for the New Year's Day Bash inside Banterra Center. It's the Valpo Beacons coming in. They're searching for their first Valley win of the season, as are the Southern Illinois Salukis, coming off another heartbreaker on the road, another game that came down to the final possession. We'll dive into that more with the Hall of Famer Rodney Watson. I am Luke Martin. It's so great to welcome you in, Saluki Nation. We will have Roger Powell join us, the head coach of the Valpo Beacons. The last time we saw them, it's kind of almost a turning point late in the season for Valpo. They did lose their last 2 regular season games before they went on, and they won their first 2 games in Arch Madness last year, including upsetting Northern Iowa in Arch Madness and in St. Louis. And much different Valpo team, and we'll get into all of that with Coach Powell later on here in the podcast. But Coach Watson, here we are, New Year's Eve, and the Salukis so close. We have touched up on it so many times that, again, 0-3, not where anyone wants to be, and you could probably say this is a rinse and repeat discussion that you and I have had here over the last month or so, but I do think it's fair coming off the 3-point loss to Murray State, again, which was 84-81, a 75-possession game there in Murray, Kentucky, a game, again, where Southern trailed by as many as 20. It was in the late stages of the first half before they came back. But a tremendous effort for Southern, again, to get back into it, but just couldn't quite get over the finish line. And it was one of those moments where we thought the Drew Steffi 4-point play, when Southern tied it up, I really thought at that point, man, Southern's going to have enough to get over this line.
Yeah, the way I see this, I see Southern is trending up. And yeah, we're not getting the final result we need to have. But even when you get those results sometimes, maybe it's from the coach's paranoia standpoint, you feel like, are we trending down? And right now, in my eyes, with what I see from our seat, which is very close to the floor, we're trending up. I'll give you a really key example to that. Southern has seemingly been playing from behind since the Richmond game. Okay, and that's been a long time ago. So the amount of energy in your body and your emotion that it takes to stay in games and to fight, to get the thing even, hopefully come over the top, is probably more than you realize if you haven't been on the floor. I mean, when you're, and all of us have been on the floor in some respects, in some activity where, it might even be your financial account. Like you're getting there and you're hustling, and all of a sudden you have a setback. And we all know what that's like when we're kind of playing from behind in some aspect of life. But what has been really impressive to me is how much Southern has in their tank. I've been using that phrase a lot. You go so hard to get caught up, pretty soon you've depleted all your energy in your tank. Well, in the Murray game, we had enough in our tank to go a full 40 minutes in a high possession game. Had a chance to speak to Brendan Mullins after the game. And he made a point that I didn't even think about. And you remember when the media deal didn't get, there was no media timeout in the under 15. It got all the way to under the 12. When did we call the time? Maybe one of the two coaches called the
Brian
timeout.
Miller.
Yeah. And Brendan kept saying, I was begging him to call a timeout because he goes, those first 6 minutes just killed us. And I thought that never entered my mind for Southern. And and the game got flipped in those first 6 minutes of the second half. Man, that's a credit to Southern and the depth that they play with, the conditioning that I continue to tell you I see with my own 2 eyes. And I don't have to be at practice every day to see their conditioning level. But in fact, it's better for me not to be there in that respect because I admire it so much because I see it in raw data. But folks, our team is trending up, and the next question I have is, can we play at the lead? Because it's been so long since we've had a multiple possession lead in a game. How are we going to handle a 20-point lead when we get there? And really impressed with Southern's fight, with their energy level, their conditioning. They continue to get better in every aspect of the game.
Southern led for the majority of the Illinois State game, which came after the Richmond loss on the road. But the last two games, to your point, Coach Watson, they've only led for 4 minutes and 8 seconds total. For Murray State, they had that initial lead after Prince Aligbe made those two free throws, and it lasted for a resounding 20 seconds in the game against Murray State the other day. But the other side of it is what we have discussed even before we were officially recording today for our podcast. And look, it's 4 losses in a row now for SIU. And man, that can no doubt weigh on you. And especially even more so how these losses have really come to fruition for Southern's opponents. And prior to this 4-game skid, that's when Southern won 3 in a row, which included a terrific comeback against High Point and thumping a really good UT Martin team at home. And, of course, that's the last win that Southern had was UT Martin and Banterra. But my question to you is, and it's really for our fans, and I know this, I can't remember what was the phrase you used in our game. It was something like, this is loser Larry talk or something along those lines. But, like, this is not what we're trying to say. But how close Southern is to this being a 7-game winning streak, and thinking about how different you and I, and not just you and I, but how different Saluki Nation would feel. And it's not like we're saying you had to change these 20 things. It's very small things that are preventing right now SIU from what is right now in the midst of a 4-game losing skid to what we could be talking about a 7-game win streak.
If it was a 7-game win streak, I guarantee you I would be coming from my old profession of coaching from the viewpoint of nothing is ever as good as it seems and nothing's ever as bad as it seems. And so I'm obviously in the mindset of this is not as bad as it looks. And when I said we're getting better at everything, the 3-point shooting's got to improve. But at the same time, it's not like even that's not – it can't really go too much further south. But at the same time, it's not like we're saying, why are we shooting 33s when we're not good at this? It's a real upside. These guys understand where they can get buckets. But it is really close. And I would say, I'll come back to this angle. If it's a 7-game win streak, it's going to be really easy to look past some things that are going wrong during a game. And I don't ever recall anyone saying this was the perfect basketball game. UCLA won 10 out of 12 national championships. They don't come back with old footage saying, watch this game. This one was absolutely perfect. No missed shots, no turnovers. They got every rebound. That's never going to happen. That's the fun and the joy of our sport, because it's like a comedy movie. There's ups and downs, ebbs and flows. But in reality, that's what I'm saying. This team is trending upward. And when I say close to getting this thing where we want to be, and from my eyes, and I think I speak for Saluki Nation, we want to be in the mix for a conference championship. That's what we're trying to do. It's not about, we wanted to beat Richmond. You want to do that. You want to win your first 3 your conference games, but Saluki Nation wants to be in the mix, the hunt. That's the fun. That's what when you go to the Banterra Center and you're in the mix for this game is important, no matter who you're playing, because we've got to get this one done to stay on track. We're very close to getting that point where we are in the mix to compete for a conference championship. And now that it's a 20-game season, that's a longer deal. However, the time frame is still more compact in a really tight area.
We talked about, of course, Southern getting back into the game in the second half, and it really started with Prince Aligbe's tip-in that went off the glass and counted. That was a 12-2 run that expanded at the end of the first half to the early stages of the second half, and then the Salukis went on another 10-0 run right around the 13-minute mark to near that 10-minute mark, and that's when the Salukis were all of a sudden, blink of an eye, you're right back into the game. But let's backtrack a little bit, Coach Watson, to the first half. What did you see with more time to think about it was really critical in that 18-2 run that Murray State had to take full control of the game and lead by 20.
We didn't get into Damon's space, and he was toying with it. Here's a freshman from France. I don't know how old he is. It doesn't matter. He's a young guy. So whether he's 18 or 20, who cares? He's gonna play in the NBA, folks. I mean, when Murray comes to town, if you want to see an NBA player, if that's important to you, that kind of talent, which it has been, because we've had NBA players come into into Banterra Center for decades, and we've had NBA players as well. And Southern Illinois people know talent. They enjoy talent. They want to see how Southern goes against great talent. He is one, and he's not the only really good player, but he is an elite. When I kind of cringe when I hear the elite. I said it myself not too long ago. It's like, be careful how you use that term. This guy's an elite talent. He's an elite freshman, 6'9", and he was toying with us when they go on the run. He was doing everything. He was scoring. He was shooting teardrops. He made a couple threes, but he was finding his teammates. That's what I love about his game, is that he keeps his teammates involved in all parts of the floor. The other thing that they were really good in that run, they were good at not allowing Southern to score. Again, I come back on that from a different angle. When I'm coaching, it's us not scoring. Now that I'm a fan, it's, hey, that other team has something to do with that as well. It's easier for you to see it when your health insurance and retirement's not on the line and you're standing on that sideline. So really impressed with what they were doing. But I've alluded to it for years. Made baskets at the end of the first half typically come back to bite you. And I can tell you, when that thing got really close, as late as 11 seconds, when they were able to get to the free throw line up 2, good or not good, somebody in there was thinking, man, how important was that shot that they got at the buzzer at the end of the first half? What I said to you, either on the air or off the air, maybe both, I was really concerned about our energy level, because everybody in the program was sitting on the bench and it's easy to do that. Like, it's when things aren't going well, it's easy to sit down and just take your medicine and get punched in the face, whether you're on the court or not. But man, when you're hunting for a championship, you know that bad run has got to stop. And I was nervous with every single person on the bus was sitting down on that bench. And they weren't helping their team with any energy. Obviously, things weren't going well for the 5 guys on the court. And man, I saw that thing going very deep. When I talk about trending up, a big part of my feeling this morning is because coming out of that locker room, there was no sitting on that bench for those next 20 minutes. And it wasn't like we had the game in hand either. But we got through that stretch where, man, everybody was kind of taking their medicine, and you got to fight through taking medicine.
You think this year in some of the games, just ones that come top of mind for me, High Point, which Southern ultimately got it flipped in the second half. Jalen Haynes made a really big dunk towards the end of that first half. High Point missed the shot going into halftime, but Southern made their last shot. Richmond, Isaiah Stafford hits that shot going into the locker room. That really spearheaded what ultimately was a really strong start in the second half for SIU. Even though the early stages was close in the second half against UT Martin, but Jalen, of course, that dunk that was the top play of the night in all of sports on SportsCenter was huge. And then, of course, the Murray State game, as you said, Princeton League-based shot, leading that momentum in the second half. But that gets to my point, too. A lot of those situations typically are coming out of timeouts. One of the areas that you have touched up on a ton on our radio broadcast, and we haven't done a ton of it here, is your, I don't know if appreciation is the word that I'm looking for, but you love it when Coach Nagy draws something up offensively, because analytically you look at, I can get, there are ways to look at it analytically. There's a lot of numbers I bring up. I haven't found this to an extent, but man, if you could get the number of how many times Southern scores after Coach Nagy draws something up, whether it's a baseline out of bounds, sideline out, whatever, coming out of a timeout, man, it's a high percentage, Coach Watson, that Southern does really well.
Whether it's Scott Nagy or Dick Korn at Pinckneyville, man, I was a single guy and lived in Southern Illinois, and I'd go watch his teams play because I had nothing else to do, nor did I want to do anything else. And I'd go watch as many Dick Korn Pinckneyville teams as I ever could go see in games. Golly, did he score every time he had a board in his hand. And I just love appreciation, not even a strong enough word for me to use when I see guys. That's real coaching. That we get way too much praise as coaches. We get too much criticism for things that don't go right. I mean, because it's a round ball, round ring, and that's not a cop out. It's just a fact. You've got young kids that whatever, but when coach calls stuff up, I'm telling you, you talk about getting a lot of mileage out of the play that Jalen got the dunk on. That was a huge play. Same play that we tied the game up with Richmond and House got fouled. Same play that House got down the lane at a really critical time against Murray. And Ryan Miller told us after the game, he said, "Hey, the guys are using our drizzle play. What's going on with that?" Like, he was holding us accountable for giving the play away. He was laughing, kidding. He's like, "You guys run the drizzle play. You do know that, right?" And we kind of shook our head. "Oh, really? We do?" But yeah, when I just love it when coaches have the command of their team. That means they know where they can get buckets. They understand mismatches. And I think this game coming up is a game where there can be a lot of play calls, because I think with what we'll talk about later, from what I know and in talking to our coaches, is that Valpo's a team where you can get into some mismatches. But I love it when coach has a board in his hand, there's something good coming right after that.
SIU comes up short at Murray State, 3 points, 84-81, and will now try to turn their attention here to the Valpo Beacons on New Year's Day. Coach Watson, we kind of get ready for Coach Powell to come on. We'll talk about his team and really what Southern needs to do more on the second half of this once we get Roger on. But, looking back at last year, there was really no, I would say, quote unquote, true turning point. I mean, Southern got better as the year went along. That was for sure. And the Belmont game on the road, you saw things starting to tick in a much better direction. So to say there was no turning point probably isn't correct. But the Missouri State games, back-to-back, were huge for SIU to feel like, all right, there is no doubt steps forward being made. And it turned out you saw a big difference in Damian Mayo Jr. Once those games happened. And of course, that's also Damian going up against his former school. It's no secret. Isaiah Stafford's not playing at the level that he would like to be. He's not getting the type of numbers that he's capable of night in, night out. Is it overstated? Is it an overblown point by me to say that maybe this can be something that can jumpstart for Isaiah here on New Year's Day against his former school and his former team?
It is not overstated. There's just a different level of energy. Take myself as an example with it. And this is a zero sample size. I'm doing radio for the first time for Southern Illinois. Southern Illinois goes to Southern Indiana to play a game. It's like, hey, man, I was at both these schools. My energy level is on a different mindset. I know the USI guys, coached several of them, okay, and coached against a bunch because Stan had brought a bunch from UIndy. So that's the part that I thought Mayo had an advantage of that game. He understood Missouri State just about as well as he understood his own team. He understood personnel. He really knew, coaches have a good idea. I talk about scouting and how important it is in every conference. And by now you have real sample size. You've got 13, 14 games to look at that have been played. And you really know. That's why freshmen get scouted different at midway in the year. It's just, it's why Jalen, it's like his holes are being taken away. But back to Mayo, there wasn't a scouting report that whoever had the scout that could be given that he didn't know he knew those guys. Sure, they had a few new guys, but he knew who couldn't take away his strong drive. He knew where he could go get offensive rebounds. He knew who he could punk on defense as well. Man, that's where he was really strong in that game. Another turning point, as you said, was the UIC games. Who was it? Damian Mayo. He saves the ball from going out of bounds. If there was a play that truly won the game, I really don't think Southern was going to win if he doesn't get that save, because it was at such a key point in the game. Okay. But then who did Southern play next? They went to Valpo, and playing at Valpo, trying to get 2 road wins. When I said, New Year's Day, Southern was certainly trending down. And man, they ride that ship with the energy thing. It started at Belmont and continued in the games we're talking about. So with Stafford, even though he only really knows one player in Justice McNair, he still is going to have a different, I got something to prove in this game. And you really have that. You really it's kind of like bringing your future spouse home to meet your parents for the first time. You want to put on a good showing for them. And I would really expect Isaiah having a different energy level, different attention level, and understanding him going in and watching film a little bit more himself to know here's where I can really. And it's not about him or Mayo. It wasn't about them playing for themselves. They just want to play well, knowing it can help their team.
Well, you think back to last year and Southern against Valpo, and I mean, that was a game that Southern had a 16-2 run towards the start of that game. They were really in full control of the game in the first half. And all of a sudden, about halfway through, when Southern led by 15, man, in a blink of an eye, that thing got down to 6 at halftime, Coach Watson. And then Valpo was able to end the game on a 15-2 run, which ultimately got them control and escaped Banterra with a win. That was a huge win. I want to really ask Coach Powell when we bring him on how big that win was, because that snapped a 7-game losing skid in the series. But also, I think it really got all right, and those guys feeling at a really high note towards the end of last year. All right was fantastic in that ball game.
27, 29 points, one of those two. I mean, he was playing at a beyond freshman level. He was no longer a freshman college player. And think about it. I keep going back to the scouting thing. It wasn't like Southern and everybody else didn't know where his weaknesses were. He probably had the ball in his hand more than maybe I would have liked, even maybe if I was coaching him. But in that game, it was in his hands enough, and he was doing a whole lot of good things with it. So he was terrific. But another guy that was really terrific in 14 minutes of play, Justice McNair. Justice McNair will come back. He'll be probably the one guy that's going to play in this game that was part of the program a year ago. He's a small guard, but he averaged 14 minutes in Valpo. He got 5 points in a loss in the Banterra Center. 14 minutes, 14 points, 2 gigantic steals. I remember him just being a pest, and then, kind of myself watching the game saying, man, this guy isn't playing much. Why isn't he back in the game? But hey, Coach Powell had that one under control, that's for sure. He knew who he needed to have in the game, but McNair was a big factor, and he's coming into the Banterra Center with the same feelings that we talked about Isaiah most likely will have against Valpo.
I love it when you get that Southern twang a little bit. When you say Banterra Center,
it's the Ohio River. I've come to the conclusion that the closer you get to the Ohio River, the more it messes with your speech. And I got to be careful. We can't get down into the country of Kentucky.
Yes. Just slow down a little bit, Coach.
Slow down and speed up. Slow down and speed up.
Yes. I don't think speeding up is ever a problem for you, Coach Watson. So thank anybody. I am sure Mike Trude and others who are listening are saying Ronnie does not need to speed up. So if anything, we need to try to slow you down a little bit. But before we do officially dive into our convo with Roger Powell, I do want to backtrack just a little bit because I'm glad you brought it up. Look, we were right on this podcast about a month ago. I was going through comparison numbers of what true freshmen, redshirt, whatever, guys in their freshman year, what they have been producing for SIU and where they've stacked up. But it was to show Jalen Haynes was playing at a really high level. No doubt. The last 3 games have been really tough for Jalen. I think his plus minus in the first half was minus 18 against Murray State. I think over the 3 Valley games, it's right around minus 39 in terms of his plus minus. Give plus minus, we talk about a lot. There's a lot that can disguise or make you seem that someone is playing really, really well or someone's playing really, really bad, and there's more to it. It's just one slither of it. But it's clear he has struggled here over the last couple of games. And you said it. Hey, let's see what happens when we get in the league play. You've been on staff in these situations before. What's the staff trying to communicate to him right now? Because I don't think there's no one in this program, especially around here day to day, that's questioning whether this guy's good enough, because he's shown that he can be an impact dude for this Saluki team.
I don't know what they're communicating, but I speculate like everyone else, you're just affirming what he does well. And this part I've been super impressed with. He's not trying to do something beyond what he's capable of. So a lot of times you tell guys, keep it simple. You don't have to do more. In Jalen's case, to his credit, he realistically gets a lot of attention when he comes to the game, because if you don't, he's going to hurt you. I love his shot selection. So often when guys, especially first-year guys, when they hit this scouting, they all of a sudden think, well, I can get the same shot from another step back. And what you don't see in the last 3 games, Jalen is the same player, and I love that, because that shows an incredibly high level of maturity, and it also shows that this guy really gets it. Let me explain something about scouting again, just to clarify with people that listen to us with regularity. When I talk about the scouting in our league, and it is good, and it's always been good. The coaching is really good. The assistant coaching is really good as well. I don't mean to say that we're more superior to any other league. It's not like, well, they don't scout in the OVC. Yes, they do. Call Brad Korn if you don't believe me. They scout just as hard as our coaching staff does as well. And I know Stan Gerard at Southern Indiana, or any league we're talking, Richmond or High Point, those guys scout at an elite level. My point about scouting isn't the quality of scouting in the non-conference. It's just that you have such a small sample size. So you take Kansas City. Southern played well against Kansas City for the first game out. It wasn't because they weren't scouted. There was nothing to scout. They're just, you're making assumptions, and you got to be careful in scouting. You don't hurt your team more than you help them in early November. But now all of a sudden, you take a guy like Haynes or DeMond or all these good freshmen we talk about. Now it's at literally the click of a keypad stroke that you can pull up all their make baskets, all their miss baskets, going right, going left, off the catch, whatever part of the floor you want to ask for that information. And it takes less than a couple minutes to kind of start seeing tendencies on guys. So because you've got 11 non-conference games and then now up to 3 conference games, 14 games total, if you're not covering some guys, I mean, shame on you. So it has nothing to do that we're better scouters than anybody else. It's everybody in the country. They have that ability. And it's really helped college basketball, but and maybe in some respects, maybe that's why all of a sudden you see, well, we didn't have the 3-point arc in the 70s and we're scoring 90 points a game. We didn't need the 3-point line. Well, I can assure you in the 60s and 70s technology, I mean, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have this stuff. Scouting has really made college basketball a better game, but it's made it where you better get in the game or you will get left behind.
Let's go ahead and dive in now officially to our conversation with the head coach of the Valpo Beacons, Roger Powell. Last time we caught up with this guy, it was right before they came in the Banterra Center and got a huge win towards the end of last year. Now his Valpo Beacons, of course, with the Salukis, they are fighting for that first conference win here on New Year's Day in Banterra as Coach Powell takes time to join us. Man, Coach Powell, we know every year in this league, and this is your 3rd go-around in the league. Yeah. There's no easy night, and my goodness, this league has felt that way, hasn't it? You guys have been right there with UNI and Murray State in your 2 league games.
Yeah, it's a battle. It's a battle. I mean, you look at, we were watching game film before we played Northern Iowa, and Northern Iowa basically, had St. Mary's beat. And I came from Gonzaga. I know how competitive St. Mary's is. And then I'm watching film, getting ready to go play them in our first conference road game, thinking to myself, man, like these teams are really good. And, obviously the season Murray State's been having and how we were right there, just a couple plays away, both those games. So, you look at, what Southern Illinois has been doing, man, they've been in it. They've been competing in the Bradley game and, Illinois State. I mean, it's that's what this league is. And it's fun, it's competitive, but, it's you better not relax, not one night at all.
Coach Powell, one area that it's, when you talk about college basketball today, every program, there's so many things that have changed. Even way back to when you started being an assistant. Look, there are things you always want, whether it's NIL, all those things that come with the program, but you still have to have an eye for talent evaluation. And I think it's one thing, and it's a really great credit to you and your staff at Valpo. You guys have done a great job identifying really good talent that comes into your program. Outside of just having a good staff, good eye, what are areas that you really try to focus on to say, hey, this is important for me when I'm looking at talent evaluation and seeing who are guys I want to bring into the program?
Dude, man, I'm the number one is just Jesus, God, man, my faith, my prayer, and praying that He would let me discern the kids we bring in, and not only that, I mean, we lose guys. I mean, last year, I mean, this team was, if we didn't lose the guys that we did, I mean, I think we're probably towards the top of the conference, and then we had to totally revamp our team, and we did, and now we're competitive again, which is a credit to our staff and hours of work and researching and trying to find the right fits. So, we're just trying to survive right now, at this level. That's basically what it is, survival and trying to build your program, trying to have some kind of consistency, which is hard because your players get picked off by bigger programs. But I think the biggest thing for us is trying to develop a culture, a transformational culture where, hopefully some of these guys will value that and they would look at some of the guys that left and see, how their seasons are going, and then just think about what they could have, being here with us in our program of development, and continue to see their careers go on an upward trajectory. But at the end of the day, it's just you trying to survive and advance every day, every year, every season, every class. That's basically what it's like for, you know, coaches and programs in our shoes.
Coach, I would suspect that at Gonzaga, you have your challenges in recruiting. You have them certainly in Carbondale and Valparaiso, Indiana. What do you enjoy most about Valparaiso?
Man, this is where I started. It's I love the fact that it's a faith-based school. So, I can be myself, being the Rev and just having faith be a big part of our program. So that's great. I love the size of the city. It reminds me of a Gonzaga in little ways, just being able to be at both multiple times, it kind of has that feel. And I think our program is on the way up. Like when I came back, we really struggled my first year. We were kind of at the bottom. And last year we took another jump, even though we had a whole new team. This year, I think we're primed to take another jump. We got to get some of these wins. And I think the people here with the tradition, I think they're excited about that. And I think once we're able to kind of get towards the top of the conference and maybe win a conference title or something like that of that nature, although it's going to be really hard, I think this place will explode. And I love that opportunity about being the head coach here and being able to try to bring it back to the level of winning it was.
Coach, it's hard to believe you're in your third season at Valparaiso, and just a compliment to you and what you're doing in building this program. As you have learned about the Missouri Valley Conference, standing on that sideline as the head coach, what's a constant that must be a part of your program that's important to be able to compete for a championship in the Valley?
Man, listen, this is one of the, I mean, obviously we're top 10 in conference in the country. I know that just from stats, but just, being all the places I've been coaching the Horizon League, the, SEC, the WCC, man, this is one of the top most well coached leagues I've been in, one of the toughest leagues I've been in. I mean, these teams are tough. Most of them are veteran, and they have great coaches, and that's been a challenge for me. I've had to kind of grow up quickly, just being a young first time coach at 3 years ago to now, learning and seeing how you have to be able to win close games, and you have to scout your opponents really well because every night is going to be a hard game.
Coach, when you become the head coach, all of a sudden you're the final decision maker. And you got to get good information fed to you from your staff as well. What's an area, Coach Powell, where you clearly go, and I don't know how much of a point you make it to go back and rewatch your games and your game plans from year one. But when you go, man, like I have improved so much in the head coaching seat from year one to now. Is there a clear area for you where you go, man, this is an area where I know I've grown as a head coach?
No, I try to block out year one, just to be honest. um, but last year, just how we kind of began the year, we had our struggles, went through like a 9-game losing streak in conference, which was really hard, and then just how we kind of fought back and we kept competing, and we got to the point where we were playing our best basketball in February, and then obviously in March with making to the semifinal and basically being a minute away from making it to the championship game in a really close battle with Bradley. So I kind of look at that, how that season went. And to be honest, last year was a whole new team. This year is very similar to that. So trying to kind of have the same trajectory, keep our guys together. We've lost some games in a row, although they're really close and they're some high level teams. Just that same trajectory, keep getting better, keep fighting. And then, hopefully we're better in January. We're a lot better in February. And then March, we're playing our best basketball. So I think the last 2 seasons has kind of been what I wanted and what I planned for. And I'm hoping that, just from the things I learned from last season, I can get over the edge and maybe compete for having a winning season, which we haven't had in a long time here.
Coach Powell, in this day and age of college basketball with the transfer portal, beforehand, when you go up against guys who used to be at your program, it probably had a huge talking point. Now it happens so much throughout college basketball last year. Saluki said that when Damian Mayo went back to Missouri State. Obviously, Isaiah Stafford here now, and we'll see you guys for the first time. How much now has really that – I don't want to say it's a complete mute point, but just with the culture that college basketball is in today, it's way more common than, especially when it was back when you were playing at Illinois.
Well, I think the biggest thing I have to continue to guard my heart because I coach these kids. I pour into them. I give them opportunities. I love on them, and our program is. I preach it that it's not transactional. It's transformational. So I often do. I try to do the best for kids. Obviously, the Stafford situation. He was injured. I set him out the whole year just so he can come back fully healthy. And then at the end of the day, he ended up transferring, and just understanding that's the landscape and not allowing, that to get in your heart and make you kind of jaded towards, trying to do your best to take care of guys and love them well. And so, that's something that I've had to grow into. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say it's been easy just because I love my players so deeply. But at the end of the day, guys call me here to do one thing, and that's to make boys men, develop young men, and give them opportunities to excel. And if they stay, if they go, like my purpose and my culture doesn't change. And that's been cool. Seeing some of the guys that have left and hearing that they miss it being here and they miss being in our culture. So that's a credit to what we're doing and how we just try to be consistent and how we're developing what we're developing.
Coach Owen Deese grew up playing at Wrights High School, which is literally 3 miles from my house, and I'm really impressed by what he's done in college. Number one, he stayed at Corpus Christi for 4 years, got his degree. What did you see in him in the recruiting process? And for a guy that's coming off the bench to lead you in scoring, how important is he to your program?
He's unbelievable. He's been unbelievable, and then part of the reason I had him come off the bench because he was struggling early, and he's a starter, but I think it kind of helped him relax, get his confidence back, and then he just taken off. And he's a guy that's won. He's a guy that's played the collegiate level, Division I level, and played in big games. And he's doing what we expect him to do. We needed his veteran presence, his ability to score the ball because we still have a lot of young guys. I mean, last game we played 4 true freshmen and a sophomore. So we're kind of like year one. We were young again, but having a kid like Owen Deese and having some of our other guys, even though they haven't played Division I, but they played, college basketball, like that helps us with the youth. But as you know, and as I've learned, it's hard to win in the Missouri Valley consistently playing a lot of young guys because you got to get older in this conference. And hopefully you can be like Illinois State and, Northern Iowa and some of these teams that have gotten older from within, and that's what we're trying to do here.
Justice McNair comes back. He's been an important part of your program, not only last year as a freshman, but probably as a sophomore. I'm curious to know what he means to you. But is it true that he spent the entire week in Carbondale because he played so well here last year that he wanted to get a heads up on making sure he was at the game for sure? Because he was a beast on February 22nd.
Yeah, we love. Man, I love Justice. Obviously, he's from Joliet, and this is his true sophomore year, and he's kind of started the year with some injuries and kind of getting his confidence slightly back here, and he's one of those guys that can have just big games, for you, and when he does, I mean, we're winning, and so I'm excited for him. Obviously, it's a new game, it's a new season. Southern Illinois is a new team, so these games have their own, you know, their own stories, but and when he's playing really well, man, it's hard. It's hard to beat us.
It's clear when you look at your numbers and your stat sheet, Ken Palm sheet, Coach Powell, that defensively your group has been really strong this year in an area where you guys have made strides. What's made this group this year make those strides in your eyes?
I think we got more size. We haven't had size like this since I've been here. And then, you know, I mean, I like our group, man. Our group competes. They play hard. You know, obviously we've had some games we haven't made shots, and that's just hard to win against a really good team. You don't make shots, but you know they're competing, and that's all I can ask for. And you know, we're just going to continue to get better, and hopefully our defensive intensity continues to improve, and our offense gets better because you know you need both to win in the Valley.
As you had described, obviously the losing streak last year that you guys went through, yet you found a way towards the end of February to peak and play your best basketball in March. These two teams, I think, resemble a lot of each other right now, Coach Powell, where, yes, both are on 4-game losing skids. I think there's a lot of conversation internally where the Salukis are going, I still think we're trending in a good direction. Don't want to speak for your team as well. You've had 2 really close games back to back. During when you go through skids like this, how do you make sure that even if you're not getting the ultimate goal at the end, which is to win, but you want to still make sure that you're that long trajectory that you're going in the direction that you want it to? That can be really hard when you're going through stretches like this.
Just be consistent with what we preach, our culture, and you know, explaining. You know, I explained to the guys where we started. You know, we started the season; they were projecting us Ken Palm 289, and we lost. You know, these 4 games, and we were in the hundreds, and now we've been hovering around 207, 208, and that's a huge jump. And the reason it's a huge jump is because we've been playing hard and playing well against good teams, and so now we just have to crack that top 100 again, get to the top 200 again, and it's going to boil down to like a couple plays. You know, that's what it boils down to. I mean, you know, you take 6 plays the last 4 games and change them, all right, maybe even 4, and our record's totally different. You know, and that's just with a young team. I mean, they have to learn. I mean, I got a freshman point guard. I got a freshman power forward. I got off the bench a freshman. You know, 2 freshmen come. Like they just have to learn what it means to win and how important those little plays are. And it's just you can only learn that by experience. And we've gained a lot of good experience. These last couple games, a lot of film to be able to show them like this is why you do this is why you do that. This is why you got to block out. You can't last play of the game. You can't get caught staring at the ball. Like all these things, you just get that with young guys, you know, and they'll learn.
Coach, I'm really glad you brought up the freshmen. Luke and I have just been marveled at the quality of freshmen in the Missouri Valley this year. Southern's going to be in their 4th game, and every game we've gone into, while Illinois State has a lot of returning veterans, they have good freshmen on their team as well that are helping their team right now in Valley play. But when I look at your 2 that you just mentioned, in Cheney and Pettigrew, I marvel because it's no longer non-conference games. Like Kentucky didn't know how good those guys were because they didn't have enough sample size to really evaluate them. Well, now Southern Illinois knows how good these 2 that you speak of in particular, not to mention Tucker Tornado, who I've known since he was 5 years old playing at our camp. And how have your guys done such a great job being so young and still being productive? 2nd and 3rd leading scorers as freshmen.
Yeah, they're good, and you know we credit our staff. We were able to go out and find them, but with that being said, I mean it's different when you're like the top of the scouting report and you're a freshman in the Valley, and it's not just one. You mentioned JT Pettigrew, you got Rakim, but then you got Carter Boy, and shoot, last year Sadir came in and made plays for us, and then my sophomores Tucker and Justice. I mean it's crazy at the youth that we have, but they're competing.
How much did you play as a freshman?
I didn't play much as a freshman. 6, 7 minutes, something like that. I'm not sure, but I worked hard and I competed. And then my sophomore year, I started the rest of my career. But I tell these guys all the time, it's a privilege to go through these battles and even to lose a game and learn from it as a freshman when you're being thrown out into this fire. I mean, that's a privilege. And I think these guys understand that and they value it, and they're going to continue to get better.
We'll get you out of here on this note, Coach Powell, because, man, you guys have been on the road and traveling when you're on your way to Carbondale here later on today. But it's Coach Watson marvels at because he was in your seat at one point being a head coach, not so much from my seat being a broadcaster for basically my whole career, is, man, it's a testament to coaches when you trust your bench. And it's an area it's not easy to go into your bench. And when you look at your team this year, 32nd in the league, I think 32nd in the country, in terms of bench minutes right now. And some of those minutes get distributed to certain guys. But for you, how you've been able to trust guys, we talked about, of course, a couple of those key pieces of, hey, it's it's about playing the right guys at the right time. I know everybody wants to be a starter. And there's so much emphasis on starting a game, but man, there's a lot of trust that you can have in guys that don't necessarily start a game for you.
Yeah, and like I said, man, I got 7, 8 guys that could potentially start. So I mean, it's not about starting. It's about having quality minutes and helping the team go up when you're in the game, and then obviously who's finishing for us, and that's what we're learning. We're still figuring out like which group can really finish games for us because we struggle late in some of these games. So I'm still learning the team. I think we figure out a lot of things, but we're still learning and growing.
Coach Powell, really appreciate the time. And also, even more so, that, hey, anyone we can talk to that's on that Bruce Weber call list, which we talked about before we hit record, hey, that's always a great conversation.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you.
No,
Appreciate you guys.
big thanks to Roger Powell for taking time to join us. It was always a great time to catch up with him. And, man, even though each year Coach Watson, his team continues to lose key pieces, he always finds a way to retool. This team defensively looks like they have been much improved. We talked about that with them, and that's an area that, to me, shows that, man, teams that are tough defensively, they're never going to have – they're going to be hard to put away because eventually they're just going to keep grinding and getting some stops on you. That's what impressed me about Valpo's numbers so far this year, is that they are drastically improved from a year ago.
Valpo gets drilled at Kentucky by 40. That's no surprise. Kentucky's got a really good team, especially at their place. They go to Marquette. Marquette's not having the season they want in the Big East. But I guarantee you, Roger Powell would like to have their resources at Marquette, and they take them to overtime in a really close game. They they get a good win. They're one lone win on the road at Cleveland State, who has been good. They're not a great team this year in the horizon. But what I'm saying is, I don't think there's any doubt about it. Valpo's taking on their coach's personality. If you talk to Bruce Weber about coaching Roger Powell, he's going to – first of all, you better have a lot of cell minutes left on your phone because he loves Roger Powell, and Roger Powell's on the Bruce Weber call list. If you're on the call list, Bruce Weber's the best at staying in contact with his players, former coaches, of anybody in the country. Way better than a guy blabbing right now. But Bruce will just talk about Roger and what just a tough guy he was, but a great guy, and that's what gets me. Like, I go back to thinking about the game last year at Valpo, and it's a heartbreaker, man. Valpo was in the same spot Southern was in. They needed wins. Everybody wants to win. Regardless of your character as a person. Everybody, you're in this. You're competitive. You want to win, and Southern got away with a 4-point win. And Roger Powell gathers both teams. And obviously he's an ordained minister, but trust me, I played enough church league games. Ordained ministers are cutthroat, and they want to win too. And for him to be able to turn it off, that competitive fire, the meaning of that profession that he has, and to go to the Lord and talk, I mean, man, that gives me goosebumps, because that's what he's really about. And for those guys that leave, and this isn't a statement on guys staying or leaving, be careful, because when you play for a guy like Roger Powell that really, really gets it, where he can shut off a hard loss in a matter of about 90 to 120 seconds and go to the Lord, the supreme being, and say, hey, thank you for giving us a chance to play. Be careful where you go next, because you might find that you're not getting that everywhere.
That was the 6th loss in a row for Valpo. They were 3-2 in the league at one point. That's when they beat Indiana State in a thrilling overtime game there at the Arc. And then they just went through that rut where they were at one time 3-2. All of a sudden they lose 9 in a row, and they're 3-11 in the league. Yet guess what? They beat Belmont late in the year. Turn around, they do lose on the road to Evansville, but then they come back. They beat Missouri State at Valpo. They come to Banterra Center and win. So even through all those things, Valpo, you can see there's segments of years where you go, man, it appears that they're struggling, but a lot like what we have talked about with Southern, right? You look at both these teams, and like that's what's amazing when it comes down to this. Valpo, they're on a 4-game skid. Southern, they're on a 4-game skid. There's a lot of similarities right now between both of these teams that I think even both coaches, be it, like we talked about with Roger, his group, they're right there with Murray at the under 4-minute mark. They're right there just the other night against Northern Iowa on the road. Now they got to stay on the road here and come to Carbondale, but it's not like these teams are that far off, Coach Watson.
Yeah, I'm going to bring this topic up maybe a few times from here on in because it just kind of came back to me, something we talked about when I was an assistant at Southern over the years. You implement, you correct, and you perfect. And whether it's offense, defense, any aspect, I mean, classroom work, behavior off the court, all those things, you implement something. You're correcting it, and then you work towards perfection. I think in Valpo's case, what was indicated last year, they don't dwell on they correct, but they don't dwell on the negative part of why it's happening. They work towards perfecting, and you can see that with coaches. And in this era, and I think about 162 game schedule in Major League Baseball. Man, the Dodgers had a bad stretch last year. Or go through any team. I don't follow hockey, but those guys go through it too, and everyone does. In this era, from a coaching standpoint, you better have a high-level degree of sports psychology, or it will slip through your fingers like grains of sand.
Well, he talked about again, man, there's been really good freshmen that they have had through the years, and that's the one thing that you give credit to Valpo, man. They've done a great job at talent evaluation, and think of two freshmen that are really in that mix this year as well. We talked about him already with him, but Rakim Chaney, he's been outstanding, a freshman from Rockford, Illinois, and then JT Pettigrew. We talk about young talent, right? And talk about when you got young talent in this league, don't be afraid to talk about them. Those are two guys who have been really key to this Valpo team this year, Coach Watson.
They're getting scouted too, and they're getting scouted at a high level, both in the league and some of those teams we talked about as well, to be your second and third leading scorers. That speaks volumes. And again, like you said, it's not like they're the second, third leading scorers for a team that's getting rolled by 20 every night, because they are not. And you were very quick in the postgame show at Murray saying, don't think that this next game is going to be just an easy one where you can sleepwalk through, because trust me, with Roger Powell coaching these guys obviously believe in him, and he's got a strong coaching staff. Really, really like those guys as well. And it right now, I mean, you've got to have a coaching staff that's all on the same page. You've got to speak the same message. Whether it's the correction part or the perfection part, everyone's got to be saying it, whether you say it slightly different. The players have to know that there's no chink in the armor on our coaching staff. You can't wedge through them to get what you want out of this thing, out of one of them. You've got to be buttoned down tight as a group, saying the same message. Sure appears that Valpo's doing that.
You think of the league schedule to this year. Right now, there's been 15 league games that have been played, and this is according to KenPom. Out of the 15 games, Coach Watson, that have been played, how many have been blowouts? Which for KenPom, that is 19 points or more. 1. I mean, that is how competitive the league has been. Look, there may be games, as we know, last year, Southern just got after Northern Iowa in Banterra. Like, there are going to be those games that kind of come out of nowhere. But, man, there are going to – and you and I weren't going into that night going, man, this is going to be a night where Southern's going to win and lead by 20-plus for the majority of the game. Those games are still going to happen as we go throughout the league. But even Evansville right now, I mean, you look at the bottom of the league right now, Evansville, they battled their rear ends off against Bradley. They really had so many chances to beat Drake in Evansville as well. That's the league. And as you go throughout the year, I mean, don't be looking at where, you're going to have this stretch. And it's like you said, you're not talking down about other leagues. But, look, there are other leagues where you feel pretty good about certain games. Man, in this league, it doesn't matter where you go, home or away. There are no doubt still going to be games that you need to take care of business. And for SIU, if they want to be a team that's going to be in that top 5, and as you say, get in the hunt, you got to stop the bleeding now. You got to find a way to win at home. That is clear for SIU.
As much as there's times where we don't really want to believe it. And I'm not talking about Luke Martin and Rodney Watson. I'm talking about us as Saluki fans that have been a part of this for a long, long time. And we don't want to believe that Missouri's that good. We are ranked 9th in the country for a reason. And this is a true sample size now. You know, I'm really cautious in November about such a discrepancy in who people play. Our league is 9th. What's interesting about that, once you get to January 1st, that doesn't change much because it's been solidified. There are no more non-conference games for the most part. So there's not like a team can jump from 15th to 10th and start bumping people around. You're going to stay in it. When you talk about the 11-team league in the Missouri Valley and how close it is, you don't have to go any further than looking at the game the other night in Terre Haute, where Indiana State beats a very good Belmont team. And we can go over all the other 13 games that give you that example. Just trust us. This league is good, but it comes back to this, Luke, and we complain about tomorrow, saying, well, you know, are we going to have this guy next year? We're not going to have this guy next year. Or that guy, forget that. Who knows if we're even going to be playing basketball? I mean, we're not promised tomorrow. Stay locked in today because there are terrific players in our league. And I was so guilty of what I'm begging you guys to do back in the 90s when I was with Coach Herron. I didn't go to games saying, well, that guy, you know, Shea Seal's going to play in the NBA, and I didn't think Chris Carr was going to play in the NBA. You know, nearly every night when teams came in the league, nearly every night somebody had an NBA player. And what you and I are really trying to get through to our fan base and the entire Missouri Valley, whoever will listen, we have pros coming into our arena. They are worth the price of admission to come watch play, not just to watch an individual play, but to watch them play with good teams and good coaches. This is the 9th best league in the country. We're not making that up. It's a fact.
2 p.m. tip on New Year's Day, ring in the new year, balloon drop, all the fun festivities. Tickets, like I said, it's the most tickets that have been out right now this year for a Saluki basketball game. So if you want to make sure that you can go, if you're listening to us here on New Year's Eve, you can still buy your tickets as well. There's a lot of deals going on as well. So be sure to come in to Banterra. We hope to see you to start off the new year. And as we have said time and time again, Saluki Nation, you are a tremendous sixth man. And this team would no doubt love to have you as that sixth man on New Year's Day against the Valpo Beacons. Our pregame coverage will begin on New Year's Day at 1 o'clock. Coach Watson will sing some great New Year's tunes. That's what he loves to do. And if you're wondering, you can't really get this effect if you're listening to us. But if you're watching the video end of this podcast and you've been noticing that Coach Watson's been trying to get his hands in the shot enough, go ahead and show our viewers just the new. There we go. The new bling.
What time you got, Luke? What time have you got right now?
Well, you know, the Apple Watch I have works just fine. But, I mean, was that a gift that you got over the holiday?
I asked Santa Claus for an adult watch. I've been wearing the mowing watches for the last several years. And
that's right. Yes.
She was glad to oblige because she used to say, you know, used to wear button downs and loafers and khakis, and now you're in Carhartts and a little bit on the grimy side. What's changed? And I just said, you know, it's time to change the image. I was hoping you'd ask for a New Year's resolution, and that's part of it. I'm going to start being a grown-up, Luke.
Start being a grown-up. Well, there's plenty of New Year's resolutions that we can get into at the start of the new year, and hopefully we are recapping what will be a really good New Year's Day win for SIU. Big thank you to Roger Powell for taking time to join us. For the coach, Rodney Watson, the Hall of Famer, I am Luke Martin. So long, everybody. We'll talk to you on New Year's Day. Happy New Year, Saluki Nation. Go Dogs.
This has been Saluki Royalty, the official podcast for Saluki Athletics. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review however you listen. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Saluki Sports Network.